I was quoted in the Denver Post this week, and I'm wanting to share a little bit more about my take on both the article and also what is going on in the market right now. So, the quote was about the inventory surge in Metro Denver, and specifically that Denver is outpacing most US major cities. Inventory jumped, the article cites, by 67% year over year. Interestingly, condos and townhomes, what we call attached, surged much more by 87%, while single family homes are only up 57%. A lot of the difference in attached versus detached properties has to do with increasing HOA fees and insurance, but also mortgage interest rates are a huge factor. And while we continue to be promised that rates will drop a couple of times this year, I'm not holding my breath, and I don't really think that you should either. Because we have so much inventory in the market right now, buyers have what I would say too many options. And you just can't go look at that many properties as a buyer. So really, there's a lot of opportunity for buyers right now. One thing that the Market Trends Committee and I discussed, we've been discussing this for like 6 months, but there are two data points that we specifically don't report, and we're trying to get them from the RE Colorado data source for the MLS. I actually pull them myself in my monthly postcard. So if you're interested in receiving that, DM me postcard and I will sign you up, and you can have my personalized postcard with all the data on it that I think is important. But back to my point. We have been talking about how the opportunity for buyers right now is not really showing in prices because prices are relatively flat. And while that's good news for buyers, they're not paying huge appreciation this spring. What that number doesn't report is how much in price drops sellers are having to do to get their property under contract, and how much sellers are having to give to a buyer in the form of seller concessions. Seller concessions, remember, is the cash that the seller credits to the buyer on the closing statement that the buyer can then use to help buy down the interest rate or pay for their closing costs and decrease their cash at closing. So those numbers will hopefully be coming out and reflecting what I would consider a little bit softer market, more of a balance in the market. And as I look back on the last 15 years, days on market rose this month from 39 last year to 48 average days this year. And that's kind of normal. As I look back, I'm just going to share, I'll have to just add this overlay later. But as I look back, average days on market kind of hovered around anywhere between 38 and 45, with, of course, the COVID years excluded because homes were flying off the market during that time. So where it feels like it's taking a lot longer for homes to sell, it's maybe a week or so longer than it has been for the last 15 years. So it's not horrible. And the quote that I'm in the Denver Post for is that homes in prime locations that are priced right and staged well and are turnkey, meaning that like buyers won't have to put in a bunch of extra work, those homes will sell very quickly. In fact, I have 5 listings right now, and I had 3 others this past 6 months. So this past like spring, winterish. And 3 of them sold in the first weekend, and then quite a few of them are sitting on the market for a longer period of time. So the question is, what is a seller to do, right? Buyers are in, a good spot, at least as far as having negotiating power. But what is a seller to do? And that's what I want to talk about a little bit here. I like to think of this market as, I guess it's like a Mexican standoff. Think dominoes, right? You have a current property and you want to move up, but you have to sell this one before you can move up. Well, the person who's selling this middle property also has to sell in order to make an offer on their nicer property. So what we're seeing right now, in my opinion, is this kind of like stalemate where everybody is just kind of hanging on. And the reason that sellers are not accepting these offers is because they're contingent upon the sale of another property. So as a listing agent, I will coach my sellers that that's very risky to accept an offer that is contingent on the sale of another property. Unless, there's always an unless, that contingent property has already made it through their inspection, because typically most contracts fall apart at inspection. Actually, around 20% of them do. So if the contingent property has already made it through inspection, then I, as a listing agent, think that it's okay and worth the risk for my seller to then accept that offer. But if you think about it, if the first property has to get through inspection in order to sell, and then this second buyer/seller needs to also get through their inspection, we kind of have this like domino effect of dates and deadlines that all of us as realtors have to really work on. And in some ways, it's creating a little bit of a gridlock where some sellers are saying that's really not worth the risk, because maybe I'll get another offer this coming weekend that is not contingent and has less risk to me. Now, there are ways around that. So there's a number of options that people can do when they are buying and selling at the same time. And I actually have a guide on that. I'll link it here below. And I'd be happy to meet with you, because there is a lot that goes into each person's personal situation and your finances, what you would qualify for, what your goals are, what your risk tolerance is. And so I can coach you through all of that process, and I would be happy to. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy the spring weather. And if you haven't signed up yet, come to my pizza party. It's super fun on Sunday. All right. Have a great day.